Hey friends, it's 9:20 in the evening. It's like 2 degrees in Chicago, and this run is going to be incredibly dangerous. So I don't have much battery left on my phone, so I'm just going distance based on what I feel. Ideally, like 3 miles or so. And I don't even know what I'm going to talk about today, so we'll see. But welcome to Sunday Sips, where I curate some of my latest thoughts on engineering, global leadership, entrepreneurship, fatherhood, fitness, Japan life, and more. So let me pop in my head. We'll get to work. And we normally talk every mile, but I don't even know when I'm going to start talking. Let me get going. Whew, it's cold. All right, friends. Woo! It is like deathly brisk. Now I'm running faster than usual just to see if I can get hot enough to actually, I don't know, get in some form of a safe zone with this run. Let me drop my pace. Do some wind off breaths. It's just double breaths. Oh, it burns the nose. But anyway, friends, here's what I'm thinking. I got a swirling sea of thoughts in my mind. We are still actively in transition. Our house is still packed full of boxes. And first of all, it's not our house. It's the in-laws. We love them, but it is hard and good for everyone. There are these precious moments we get throughout the day where I'll just be taking care of baby Akio in the afternoon, feeding him lunch. The great-grandma comes around the corner and she's found this language of like, where's my boy? Where's my boy? Little Akio. That's her boy. And you know, for the 3 years we lived in Tokyo, those were moments she couldn't have. First of all, Akio didn't exist for the first part of that. But living abroad, having a child in separation from all the extended family, it's incredibly difficult. And it takes a huge toll on everybody because all of a sudden your life is somewhere else. And these moments, these precious moments, aren't happening with the people that raised you and cared for you. I and my wife Felicia, we have a very special, precious relationship with great grandma because my wife was raised by her. She had a bit of a broken home, and she was raised by her great grandma, her great grandpa, and her father, all in one home. And now we've moved into that home with the 3 of them, with all 4 of our kids. The same home that I used to visit all the time when I was dating Felicia in high school. And you know, when we went, here's the story, maybe we're finding it. Let's walk, we're warmish enough. Let me switch hands. Today's turned into success. Looks like just getting out a little bit. Whew. It's cold. Take my earmuffs off so I can hear myself think. But when we went broke in Tokyo and did this borderline scorched earth transition to the US, which we haven't put that behind us. There are many aspects of that transition that are still messy. Getting all our stuff in a sea shipment, that helps. The fallout on taxes is terrifying. We're still gonna have to figure out how to navigate that. But we made this crazy jump from J&J. We tried to do expat life in a foreign country, tried to build a business all in six months with incredibly high expat expenses, with 4 kids, or 3 kids at the time, in international schooling, and we failed. And to end up on a return path to the home that my wife grew up in, and that I, in some ways, grew up in, because we started dating early in high school, like sophomore year. Like, I've spent at this point probably 15 years in and out of that home, to now live in it, to inhabit it, to transform it, because we've moved all the furniture and repartitioned all the spaces, and the basement's almost livable. I mean, we've turned it into a studio apartment where there's a living room, a bedroom, and a recording studio all in one space, and it's almost Akio safe. Like, to return after 15 years, it's such a strange whirlwind. By the way, update, I think we're just gonna walk. We're gonna walk out a bit and talk, walk back, get the heart rate moving. I haven't done evening workouts in a long time, so my energy levels and everything is just confused, and it's cold. So this is what success looks like, in case you're like, when's this guy gonna run again? He's not, maybe. But to return to this space, and I think it's very vulnerable. It's vulnerable for everybody, because when you're starting a venture as an entrepreneur, one of the areas you have to wrestle with, especially in the early stages, we've talked about this before, is this slippery slope between confidence and hubris, right? And both terms, you have this sense of assuredness that you're right, that it's going to work out, and eventually confidence can slip out from under you when you realize, oh crap, we screwed up. Well, in the early stages of starting a business, I had a story, because I thought J&J, in some sense, had handed me my origin story as a founder, and in many ways they did. It just wasn't the story I expected as it's continued to unfold. Because the talk track, when I would DM someone on LinkedIn and set up a lunch and, you know, jump into the Tokyo entrepreneurial scene, was like, yeah, my name's Joey Sasaki. I'm a global medtech entrepreneur, because I liked putting those words together, which is true. And after a decade at Johnson & Johnson, I made a strategic exit in order to continue life in Japan. You know, my family navigated 12 relocations in 1 year, and we just navigated our 13th to stay. And that would be my intro. In some capacity, I talk about surgical robotics and all kinds of other fun, nerdy stuff. Like, I'd contextualize it, but like, that was my story of like, this is a moment of power. Like, we went through these 12 moves to get to this country so that we could serve J&J in advanced surgical robotics, and then we got burned and we made this crazy exit. We learned how to say goodbye, which is like what my whole community is about on Skool, is helping people figure out how to break through those inertial forces to step towards something different, whether it's a new job or entrepreneurship. And I left, and I thought it would work. And now I'm in a basement with 4 of my kids, and there's just so many connotations with it. And it's crazy, because like, the conversations that I was having with so many different startup founders and investors and VC folks was like, dude, you are crazy valuable. Like, what you know across innovation, leadership, business, cross-cultural, like all those pockets, they're like, you are wicked valuable, dude. Like, and it was just, I couldn't find the right opportunity though with an expat package to make it work. So then I had to start my own business, and business is hard. My ears are getting cold. Let me put my ear muffins back on. My ear muffs. We're approaching the 1 mile marker. We're at like 0.8. So I'm gonna keep pushing forward, and then we'll cut it back, and this will be a nice 40 minutes in the element. you know, so I share all this. Switch my fingers. I have to like swap my hands between the gloves and the camera, and I have to like tuck my fingertips into my palms, because the ones that are holding either a phone or in this case a GoPro, they get cold faster because the metal, it's like super chilling, right? So it's weird because the story of my life, the story I thought I was gonna lead, the story I was telling others, it hasn't slipped away from me, but it has evolved and transformed. And today I was having an interaction on Skool, and again, Skool is Skool. If you're new to that context, it's a great platform, go check it out. There'll probably be a link in the description of this if you want to go hang out in mine. But I was having this conversation with someone, you know, and I asked them, like, why are you here? Like, why are you on this platform? What are you doing here? What do you care about? And they help authors, like, tell their story. And I want to write a book someday. So that's gas. I just ate dinner. I'm not used to running after eating. I run in a fasted state. All the complaints, all the adapting I've had to do. So anyway, they had this nice continuum when like their deeper version of like why they're here was this belief that pain leads to challenge, like a challenge, and a challenge leads to a story, and a story leads to inspiration. And I was like, that's a great continuum. And I like tried to fit my life into it, and the way that it would have fitted in the moment when I left J&J was like, and this is the story I told. The pain was like, we navigated 12 relocations in 1 year as a family in order to get to Japan. And the challenge was, we made the impossible decision after 10 years progressing surgical robotics at Johnson & Johnson to make a strategic exit. And the story is like, and in order to continue life in Japan, we're starting a company focused on brand management and supporting startups and community on Skool. I did too many things because there's risk with any venture, so I decided let's do them all, which also has its own risk. And then the inspiration was like, people, expats in Tokyo from different countries are like, dude, this guy's really cool. Like, I want to connect with him and see if there's a match, see if there's something there. But if I were to reuse that format right now, as we kind of turn this last bend and then think about turning around underneath the stars, such a different vibe than I'm used to, such a different headspace. If I navigated the pain I'm in right now, the pain of today, I'm trying to process it in real time with you. It's so complex, because if I hadn't failed in Japan, I wouldn't be as proximal to family in Chicago. And Chicago has always been tricky for me and my wife. Like my wife, well, I grew up in Chicago as well. Her clan, which is very large and very interconnected, has lived within a 50-mile radius of one another forever-ish, loosely. So I always felt this tension that I was bringing her farther and farther from her clan. Like, she eventually ended up following me to college at the University of Illinois, which is 3.5 hours from the clan. And then when I landed a job progressing surgical robotics, even though I looked at opportunities at Abbott and AbbVie and Baxter and all these other med techers, like, it ended up taking us on this path to Cincinnati for 8 years. And then that led to a pathway to Japan. And even though we were doing missions work in Japan every summer, it was different when we were physically moved there pseudo-permanently. You know, it's considered a short-term assignment on paper. We sold everything. We sold our house. we purged a decent amount, not enough, as you saw the boxes on the last podcast. I'm almost at the hill. I think this is where I want to end, is when I get to the hill. And the reason I say the feelings, the pain is complex, is it took a relocation to Japan and financial collapse for us to realize, like, the only option we had was to settle with the in-laws, which was like a line of self-dependence I was never willing to cross. But like, there was no other option. Like, we took massive risks, and it led us on a fast path to family. And the reason I say the pain's complex is because there's also like joy and a sense of purposefulness in it. I don't know, I'm being super vulnerable today, so hopefully this is what you need. Which is so funny because I edit these and put them out at like a 3-month gap, or like, by the time you hear this post will probably be out in April, and it's January. Who knows where I'll be in April? Maybe things are peachy. And you'll be like, dude, it was crazy back in January. I was like, I know. But it's complex because, like, we came here, and while our family is hosting us and providing for us in that sense, from a financial perspective, a safety net I never wanted to leverage. I was always desired to be self-dependent, even in high school and going out into college, paying our way. It's incredibly vulnerable and hard to be hosted. And we were pushing so hard to get an apartment without having a job. And then we took a $7,000 hit on our car, and that just became an impossibility. Where I was like, shoot, we're not gonna have our own place to deliver all our stuff. So I guess we're gonna have to get it all delivered at the in-laws, and it's turned into a huge thing. But the pain's complex because now that we're here, I do feel a great sense of purposefulness, being proximal to family, living with the grandparents. Like, Felicia's grandfather is dying of kidney disease. He's starting dialysis. He's navigating dementia. And caring for him was never a responsibility that I had imagined. And, you know, he interacts with me at moments, smiles. He's very quiet, but he'll kind of laugh and be like, do you want a cup of tea? No, I don't want a cup of tea. It's my internal answer. Like, I don't drink tea. But it's so fitting that he asked that, because tea is such a cultural nuance in Japan. And I always say yes, because it gives him something purposeful to do, and it gives me and him an interaction. And I know that he has anywhere from 3 months to 3.5 years to live. And my ambition, my original origin story from my J&J exit, would have kept me from sharing a cup of tea with him. If we were successful in Japan, we would have lost the last 3 months to 3 years of his life. And that's why the pain's so complex, because at the same time, the way we've crashed into family and into the home, there are so many layers of failure, shame, guilt, doubt, confusion. Like, I really thought from a faith context we were called to Japan and it would work. And now, like, a couple days ago, like, we had an indication that Felicia's grandmother may have stage 3 kidney failure. Like, the same thing grandpa's dealing with, but less severe. And like, the survival rates of that are still pretty high, like 56% at 10 years. Normally get hit by a different comorbidity. Y'all are like, dude, how do you go so clinical? I spent a lot of time. I immediately, like, when I got the diagnosis, I was like, all right, let me look this up. What are we working with here? What are the interventions? Where's the medicine and the surgery? You know, what's it gonna look like? But like that hit her so hard, along with her own hip surgery delays, dependent on her husband's dialysis, and like all these layers. And I'm like, we're in the home with them, loving them, caring for them, but also burdening them, because right now our money's not yet working and the hiring timelines are complicated. And now I've spent so much building this thing on Skool, like I actually want entrepreneurship to work a second time through. So that's the pain. And I think the challenge in my present season, I'm going to try to leverage this whole model. The challenge before we even get to the story is I know what to build. I don't know the time horizon. So one of the things we struggled with in Japan is right when I exited Johnson & Johnson, I went on a mini vacation with my family, which, looking back as we navigated, our burn rate going to zero, maybe a dumb idea, but at the moment, it felt like it made sense of like, we need to clear out of our house because we had just moved from one house to another and we were still in boxes there. It's like, we need to clear out of this and just spend 5 days as a family on a beach and chat. And we got an Airbnb, and every day we would walk out to the beach, and it was beautiful, and let our kids run around and just give them some normalcy, because they didn't quit J&J in a foreign land dependent to make something work. I did, right? That was something I needed to process. They just needed time with their dad, and they were going to adapt to the new house we're in if we made it an adventure. And we stayed at an Airbnb, and in the downtime, when the kids were playing with toys or eating snacks, and we weren't at the beach because it was hot, they had like this epic, it felt like a master-sized bed, but it was a couch futon on the floor. I don't know how to describe it. It was like a giant couch pad in the middle of the room. And I would just lay on that couch pad with my little Remarkable tablet, and I just started sketching these 9 modules. I started sketching this, how to say goodbye, and started reflecting on how was I able to leave J&J, and what does this mean to other people? Because I was going to be a lifer there. I was dedicated. I loved what I did. But in that moment, I thought I quit making a decision for family to continue life out there. And I was like, how do I pull this into a journey that others can navigate, where they could learn how to find a sense of power and self-worth and the ability to make this impossible choice to leave something in order to step into something greater. And that's what my exit felt like. Like, I remember having dinner, like my Japan team gave me a going away party as I quit. Because I didn't quit them, I quit the US like sponsor that couldn't seem to get it done to keep me there. And it felt like a funeral. Like, all of them looking around the room at like the 9 people I'd partnered with for 3 years to advance innovation from Japan and advocate for them, their country, their surgeons. And I looked around the table, and the look I was getting from them was like, we have no idea how you are going to survive in this country. Like, it is not going to work, but we think you can do it. There was such fear and confidence at the same time, and such support from them. It was so beautiful. And then I end up at this hotel and capturing these 3 major stages, these 3 movements of how you say goodbye. We're gonna get into the challenge. I'm still tracking with y'all. It's cold, so bear with me, okay? I'm trying to walk fast so I don't freeze to death. Whew, at least we're getting 2 miles in under the stars. It's nice. And yeah, the first module is like inertia. Yes, because we have inertia, there's momentum. Shoot, I just did all this. Yeah, so inertia is like these restraining forces that keep you in a job that doesn't serve you. And the first module is just figuring out, doing an ikigai exercise to figure out what kind of gives you a sense of purpose, what lights you up, what you can be paid for, and whether you can find an opportunity inside your present organization that makes that happen for you, or if it has to be something external, like should you look beyond. And then the second module under inertia is the frog in the pot, which is basically this idea that if you leave a frog in a pot and turn the heat up, it'll stay in the pot even though the temperature rises, because it can't discern it and it gets cooked. And a lot of times there's different crap that happens in our career that cooks us little by little, and we have to recognize that we're a consenting frog in the pot, and for how long are we willing to do that before we take the jump and move to something else. And then the third part of inertia is golden handcuffs, and that there's all these restraining forces that employers use to keep individuals retained but underpay them and inequitably position them so that they could just keep leveraging their talent without advancing them well. And I was a victim of like multiple, I don't like saying I was a victim, but I did multiple lateral moves, which gave me a huge leverageable skill set. Like, I'm so thankful for the choices I made, but I became more and more broke each year that I worked for J&J, just based on growing a family and not having salary keep up. And then from there, from inertia, what is it? Impact. Yeah. The middle stage is a change, a shift. This recognition that your life's not replaceable. That everyone else around you in a business may be replaceable, but your life isn't. And while they'll backfill you when you leave, you need to leave to step into what's great for you. You can't just be like get picked by the claw machine of leadership, like there's stuff beyond where you're at. That's the first stage of impact. And then planning your exit is another huge one, where we had to do incredible planning and political maneuvering to exit J&J safely in Japan, so that we didn't end up homeless in Japan, because our lease was tied up with them and we didn't have a good financial run out, and we had to pull a personal loan of like $75,000 to keep our kids in school. Like all these crazy logistical things we had to do to make the jump. I almost said quote unquote success. But now we're in Chicago. So that was crazy. And then the last stage of that is securing your next, like figuring out what your target is and your deeper why in your exit, so that you can find that opportunity, whether it's building a business like moonlighting or broadcasting your skill set and taking the jump into something new, like figuring out what it is and learning how to secure it. And then the back end of the journey, momentum is epic. Like I talked through like all the ways I left J&J. That's secret sauce for Skool. But the reason is to go back to the model of present pain to challenge that I go through all that. At Zushi Beach, in that Airbnb, fresh out of my exit from J&J, I had this vision. And I felt like the how to say goodbye in itself was the product. And if I could find a way to build a community around that and a course that I could sell it. And I like tested prices with different people, and I realized it wasn't contextualized to Skool to do it that way. I had to start a free community and funnel people to paid for other stuff. And I think the present challenge is that it took me 4 months to write copy for it, to script it, to try to sell it, to fail at selling it, to like have my community crash and burn as I was crashing and burning in Japan. All the while, I'd still have to go to nomikais, which are like social drinking obligations to network, and still say my old story. So the 12 moves to step into the entrepreneurial scene, as I saw things eroding around me in my business, as I began to sweat As I began to realize, like, man, God, if you don't open up a door, this is gonna be bad. And that door was a crazy jump to Chicago, and the tenacity, the persistence, the stubbornness to not close the book, to not say, hey, we failed in Tokyo, that how to say goodbye thing didn't work out, but instead find an evolution, to roll it into a free community, to give it away, and to trust that downstream, if I could help people make that choice and secure a new opportunity, if I could lengthen the time horizon, this is the challenge, on what successful entrepreneurship looks like, then I could truly build something that is life-changing for me, for my wife, for my kids, for us to potentially be able to live between Japan and Chicago. Or a big thing is, depending on the timing, provide experiences of joy for great grandma and great grandpa. Like, that's becoming a very huge why for me to continue to build this business little by little, and to believe that it could be incredibly valuable to others, and that they could reciprocate that value back to me. Like, to just be able to hop on a flight somewhere with them and give them experiences, because they gave so much of themselves for the last 80 years to build a multi-generational family. Like the home we're sleeping in, Felicia's great grandpa grew up in his whole life. Like, that's wild. It's just absolutely wild. Like, so that's the challenge. The challenge, I think, is to continue to have the tenacity, the hope to build, and to just lengthen the time horizon of success. And I think the story and the inspiration, that's still being told. That's still being worked out. Like, I am in the messy middle. I haven't secured a full-time job. And right now I'm like in the messy middle of, what if I push crazy hard on this community thing and try to get a first couple clients so that I can just do entrepreneurship. Like, this is my business. I want to work for me. But financial lead times are super risky. So do I put full effort into a full-time job with health benefits, because we haven't had that with 4 kids for a season, and then build this, moonlight it over a longer time horizon? Lots of perks and benefits to that. The messy middle one is, I'm like, what if I find a way to just bleed some income in? Like, go and waiter at a steakhouse, bartend at night, like literally where my mom worked to provide for me while she was going to college. She did college during the day and raised us, and bartended at night. Like, what if I had that hustle, but during the day I could be with Akio and Emiko, so we don't need childcare, and do entrepreneurship during the day? Like, what if I worked at the gas station? People just like watch the gas station all night just to get some cash. It's not enough, but that way, like, between people buying Reese's peanut butter cups, I could be like doing entrepreneurship on my phone. So I'm in like this really crazy boundary season of my life, trying to discern where to put my effort, where to focus. And I think part of that is paying attention. You know, I don't know if you come from a faith context or anything like that. For me, I do. Like, and I just can't help but think God's doing something in and through our life and in and through our story, and I am just bewildered what the hell it is. Like, that is the point I'm at of like, I don't really swear online. I was like, what the fuck, God? What is going on? What could you just be clear with me? Was I supposed to take the job that J&J offered me in New Jersey and avoided the 8 months of turmoil that I put my family through? Because my choice took us from 12 moves in 1 year to 15 moves over 3 years, $75,000 worth of personal loan debt into our grandparents' basement, interrupting their retirement. But the inspiration is there are moments of just joy and delight that do happen in this house now that we're here. And because great grandma can't park her car in the garage because it's packed full of boxes, and because the kids are eating fig bars in the living room, which they're not supposed to do, and because there's financial uncertainty connected with my employment and my ability to provide, and because there's stress, there's strain, there's uncertainty, there's dialysis about to start, there's hip pain, there's my inability to work out when I want, which is why I'm out here at 10 o'clock at night instead of 4:30 in the morning, which would be my sweet spot. Because of the wonderful things he does. Because of all of these things. It's hard, I think, for anyone to recognize these moments of joy and preciousness that we are here, that we can just play Catan every other night with great grandma when we feel like it, and just only 10 weeks ago that was an impossibility while we're in Japan, and we didn't get to see my family for like 3 years pretty much, because we couldn't go back and forth and travel, because even though we had a home leave stipend, J&J screwed with my pay, so I couldn't afford to leverage the stipend to see home. I had to use it to make up the difference of cost of living with 4 kids in Tokyo. So there are moments of inspiration and joy because of the time we have, but there's also pain, stress, and confusion because of the crash landing. And for me, as a provider in my home, and an innovator, and a leader, an influencer, all the things, right? It wears on me the dissonance of all of these pieces. And it's likely you, at some point in your journey, at some point in your life, especially if you progress as an engineer into global leadership, into entrepreneurship, if you follow the path I have walked, but in your own way, in your own context. God forbid 15 moves, please no. Please don't do it that way, right? But if you pick up some cheat codes along the way, I guess my encouragement to you is to continue to have the tenacity to move forward, to progress, to build, to remain ruthlessly hopeful, but open to failure. Is that something we could celebrate? As I have frostbite on my cheeks hurt when I laugh. I gotta get out of here. We're almost done, friends. Ruthlessly hopeful, but open to failure. And the reason I put the qualifier ruthless in front of it is there is a level of grit that is required to get off the 9-to-5 path, to venture out, to dare to build, and to dare to take chances where you could fail. It's like, there's some days where I feel like I'm pulling a lever on a slot machine. I'm like, okay, that didn't work. Let's pull the next lever. Nope, still too dumb. That didn't work. Let's pull the next lever. Like, you just keep cranking on it, and you keep adjusting the inputs. And And I'm not looking to be a millionaire or crazy rich or anything like that, but I want to believe it's possible to build a successful business that provides greater value to others. Like, that's something I now love and want to make. But I also feel like a crazy person doing it, and that's why I'm saying ruthlessly hopeful. That is the blessing I give you in your journey, and I match it with open to failure, because failure will come in some capacity, in some way. You can mitigate risks all day, but there is guaranteed to be bumps in the road based on things you don't know or things you can't see. And being part of a community can accelerate that. Like, it can get you around it, or at least help you find it faster. But you have to be open to the possibility that what you build will fail. What you make won't make it. That what you love, like what becomes your baby, isn't somebody else's baby and they don't want it. But you still have to ruthlessly try. You gotta have a little grit. You gotta keep waking up to get out and run in the cold. Or for me, it's put all your kids to bed, have the tenacity to say, nope, it's long run day, even though it's 2 degrees Fahrenheit with a -20 wind chill, and say, but I gotta film a podcast. I gotta come out here and talk with my people. I gotta process. I gotta show up. I gotta try. Because if we don't, then we know the outcome of not doing anything. Everything will remain the same. Just be careful of pulling on that slot machine too many times, my friend. It gets dangerous. You start to definitely feel crazy. Is that helpful? Is this a helpful podcast today? Let me know. Do me a favor, whether it's, well, I was gonna say it's 1 or 2 of you. You don't know how many people are listening. I don't. But hey, if this is a blessing to you, if this is helpful, if you enjoy these discussions, I post these podcasts in my community on Skool. It's totally free. Just search the Big Brain Club on Skool. You'll find it. There's a free one. By the time this goes out, there might be a paid one. I might be making money. You might come and pay. But anyway, join the free one, because that's where I post this stuff. And just let me know what you think about it, how it's helped you. Give me that feedback. Even if it's 3 months later, it's still so valuable to me, because I really want to believe that this can change lives, that something in my story today is exactly what you needed. That little spark, that little inspiration to put your shoes on and go run, walk, talk in 2-degree weather. In my head, I'm like, oh my God, I'm only 5 minutes from a warm minivan. It'll be cold, but it'll be warmer than this. We're almost in the light. Once I'm in the street light, I can give you a nice formal goodbye. But we did it. We did probably, because I stretched a little bit, maybe 2.1 miles under the stars in the cold. And who knows, maybe we'll do it again. My goal is to start doing these things live, so maybe I got to just commit that I'm an evening fit guy now instead of a morning guy, which I hate. I hate it, but maybe I'll come to appreciate it. Instead of starting my day doing the hardest thing, I'll take it as a moment of deep processing and reflection to end it. So, anyway, friends, we're not in the light. It's too early. Y'all are like, he's ended this thing like 5 times. Whew. Whew. Fingertips. I love Chicago so much. It's the best. I'm so happy I'm here. Am I? Confusion. Y'all are like, this one's unhinged. He should go do this at night when he's brain dead and open. Freeform jazz, right? All right, friends. I'm gonna click the end button. Whew. But as always, you can sip on that. Keep changing the world. I'll see you on the next one.